it's all nice. I mean, St.Anne's has not been new to me, but I kept coming quite regularly to the commerce department. I mean, faculty like Kavita ma'am was the erstwhile dean, and Anuradha ma'am was taking care of it. But it's so nice to get an invite from the technology people, that is the computer science people. And thanks for making me a part of this international conference. Thanks to Reverend Sister P. Amruta and the person who takes care of the IQAC, that is Dr. Smita Asthana, and the entire members from the Department of Computer Science. I'm not sure because most of them tend to work behind the screen. They tend to be the unsung heroes. Thanks to Kavita Reddy ma'am for comparing, Sujata ma'am for that introduction. Probably I got to be careful to give that lengthy introduction every time. Hurriedly when they ask, I just posted. And thanks a lot to my student's wife, that is Renu ma'am, who's a part of the computer science department. Long back, it's been my student, Naveen, was now faculty with, Naveen sir, I got to tell. He's with Villa Mary College there. And maybe their initiation, I'm a part of this thing there. So nice that one of my mentors spoke yesterday about things like the ERP and digital accounting, that is Professor Agustin Gavani. So nice to hear about things like the fourth industrial revolution and cybersecurity and other things have been covered. And I'm asked to curb myself because people are a bit accustomed to how long I go about with spreading my presentations and talk there. I put my watch in front of me to ensure that I don't encroach into your valedictory and other things that you are. And praise God that I could come home on time because thanks to Renu ma'am for actually accommodating me, talking to her seniors and other things there. Because the thing is, I was in a series of 5 days classes at NIFT teaching critical thinking, and today was the last day, and I could make it here. Praise God for that. Now, without much ado, let me just get. I mean, it's a real good thing to see 78 odd participants in this kind of workshop, or I won't call it workshop, a conference. Normally, we go about asking what's the difference between a workshop, a seminar, a conference. A lot of things during the blended learning got changed. Now, when Renu ma'am had got giving me choice of the topic, and I said I would rather go with business analytics and business intelligence. There's a bit of change, subtle difference that exists between these terms that are there. Now, if you look at the word business, I believe there is somebody else parallel talk. I'm not sure. Now, no, sir. Chavali or some name I heard it there. RJ. Okay, if you can mute yourself. The thing is, I would give a lot of time towards the end, probably 5 or odd minutes there for the question answer session there. Now, someone asking like, how do you understand the word business itself? Now, you come from a platform of IT, and there are people in business. You need a synergy between the IT department and the commerce and management to find solutions and further the cause of business. So business is something where a person like, there are a lot of those definitions. People coming from economics probably have a lousy way of putting it, where they say the state of being busy is business. A lot of people are busy here. So we call it business. Anuradhamma, can you just put your mic on? Then where we go about with looking at the word business is where Peter F. Drucker goes about saying it's all about how you create a customer, how do you satisfy a customer, and how do you retain a customer. 3 words: creating a customer, satisfying a customer, and retaining a customer. These constitute business. Now, if Drucker himself would have been alive, he wouldn't have used the word satisfy because it is more about delighting. You go about with exceeding the expectations of the customers. That is how we go about looking at the word business there. Computers, there are a lot of these people from the IT in this group, I believe. Now, when computers were being applied in the business for the very first time, the journey is that the first phase you had what is called as MRP1. The second phase, it became MRP2. Then it was ERP. Then we're talking about many other things, what we go about looking at. MRP1 was The focus was more about materials. It became what is called as material requirement planning. The second phase, it was manufacturing resource planning. MRP, normally we use it with maximum retail price. But here, when you look at the word MRP, now if you look at the basic building block, like, IT people, you talk in words of building block in terms of input, process, and output. The input is more about the 5 M's, men, money, machines, materials, and management. There are different modes of conversion, and ultimately any business will give you either a good or a service. The modes of conversion can vary anywhere between the job shop, batch, process, assembly line. There can be any of them, right from project to convey. I mean, you do it on an assembly line or mass manufacturing. Project is what we see. I mean, people get into missiles or talk about spaceships or metro rail, and all these things come in, but it's got unique features that are there. And there's a lot of operational research which is involved in project management. Now, the thing is, when you look at people very narrowly focused on the material part in the early part of using computers into business, they said if you look only at the material.
Sorry for the interruption, sir. Are you changing the slides, sir?
I'm still with the first slide. I'm just giving an intro kind of a thing there. Okay.
You're still in the first slide only, sir?
Yes, Kavita.
Okay, sir.
I think, did I come to the
and
next
if possible,
slide?
Make it big, sir.
Yes. Can you see the next slide also? Is it visible? I think it says I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, now, sir. It's not in slideshow mode. We're still able to see the slides, sir.
Yes. Now here it says the business has got only two basic functions. One is about marketing and other is about innovation. And the person who said business is all about creating, satisfying, and retaining customers is Peter F. Drucker. Maybe how am I with IT and marketing, if I would tell it there? I did my PhD in the area of CRM. It is called as customer relationship management. Now, you go about looking at it when you say that you have businesses which run on a principle of leaky bucket. What exactly does it mean is you have new customers coming and old one leaving your organization. Now, what efforts do you put to ensure that your customers stay with you is what you call it as the retention part of retention has become very important. Now, the third part, I said material, then it was manufacturing. Third is ERP. People question, it was more like frog in a well when you talk about manufacturing resource planning. You're not focused on what is happening in the external world. It's time for you to go about with linking with the external world. That is where you started to talk about companies like BAN, then PeopleSoft, Oracle, and other things started to provide you corporate solutions. You talk about HR analytics, finance, a lot of other things came as modules to help you out. The IT part of it is what you call it as the enterprise resource planning. And the theory and the philosophy behind ERP is what you call it as the supply chain management. All right. Now things are gone for far different from the time we have said about MRP1, MRP2, and ERP. Now, with this quote to say that business has got only two functions, I mean, he's called as father of modern management, that is marketing and innovation is what Peter F. Drucker says. And he says the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. Create and keep a customer. You shouldn't miss out on a customer there. Now, he goes about telling that the role of any business is about identifying customers, satisfying customers, and retaining customers. This is the next thing that you have. Now, the word analytics or analysis, if you say it, there are two terms that are there. Now, according to the Webster dictionary, it says it is a detailed examination of anything complex in order to understand its nature or to determine its essential features. It's a very thorough study that you have. And analytics is defined as a method of logical analysis. You got to have a logic, right? It has to make sense to people. What about analysis? Now, this word was something which was overused during the pandemic. Now, this is a word which was coined during the Cold War between America and USSR at that time, wherein you say that we live in a world, and during COVID too, people were talking a lot, where it said it was all about the world being, whatever things that we see around is all what you call it as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Get it right there. It said it's all volatile. It keeps changing, uncertain. There's no past experience to guide you. It's not very clear. I mean, you have more than one interpretation when you say it is ambiguous. Now, we go about telling that if you have to lead yourself during this time, the volatility needs to be replaced with the word vision. The uncertainty needs to be replaced with understanding. The aspect of complexity should be replaced with clarity. The ambiguity part needs to be replaced with adaptability and agility. How quick do you go about with responding to changes? The next thing that you have is people said probably the word VUCA doesn't go about with trying to redefine the post-COVID world. And somebody said we call instead of VUCA, we would call it BANI, BANI. We live in a world where everything is brittle. Glass is brittle. It is breakable, right? I mean, we get very overtly anxious. We are getting very hypochondriac. We get worried. I mean, there is a difference between the word worried and being anxious. Being worried is you identify a problem, right? Being anxious is, there is a problem and you're trying to find a solution for it. So you're constantly bogged down with problems. And we expect things to be linear in nature and life, but everything happens to be non-linear. And we don't tend to understand very easily about things happening around us. That is the reason that we say that we live in a world which is incomprehensible. Now, this is where it is. If the situation is brittle, you need to build on your capacity and resilience. Now, I have a water bottle here. If I squeeze it, it loses its shape. If I release the stress, it comes back to normal. Now, you should have that ability of bouncing back to normalcy. That is what we call it as the resilience. Now, if you're anxious, you require to be empathetic. You need to be mindful. You need to live in the present circumstances. Nandan Nilekani has written a book on mindfulness. Probably the young ones should read about it. Now, things are non-linear. You got to go about with reacting to the context and be adaptive. If things are incomprehensible, you got to understand that you got to work with transparency and intuitions. Now, people said VUCA, they said BANI, they said even this doesn't work out. Naveen sir, I think I'm in a session there. Now, let me put it this way. There is another level that you have where you call it as RUP. I'm not supposed to put it as VUCA, BANI and RUP. It's an acronym where you call it RUPT, wherein the changes, the fast pace, where the things are happening around us, we say it is rapid. You can't predict it in advance. It is all paradoxical. There is a change from what we see in the past to what it is, and everything looked tangled. It's very hard for you to figure out what is the start point and what is the finish point. And when you need to navigate through this you need to go through a metaphoric reasoning to get to reality. If the situation is unpredictable, you need to go about it making sense that will prevail understanding. And if there is paradoxical changes that are happening around us, there are different modes of thinking. We talk about convergent, divergent, out of the box, lateral, critical, creative, a lot of those things that are there. But the need of the hour is more about integrative thinking, which will go about giving you new possibilities and new solutions. When the situation is tangled, probably we got to recognize the patterns which will go about it creating transparency. Now, what is this business intelligence? I said about business analytics. Now, business intelligence is said to be an umbrella term which combines architectures, tools, databases, analytical tools, applications, methodologies. It is more like the decision support system of the past, which is something said to be a content-free expression. So it means different things to different people. I have come across very complicated and complex definition. There's another one which says business intelligence is a set of concepts and methodologies which improves your decision making in business. And it is through facts, and it is facts-based IT systems. Now that is where the IT comes and the fact comes in there. And an organization can be a sunrise organization or a sunset organization there. It all depends upon the quality of decisions you take. So the future is all about how do you go about taking decisions. So people talk of AI, people talk about robotics, people talk about machine language. It's all about data analytics that is there. There are so many things that I'm doing from morning till evening, wherein I depend upon my routine or my daily schedule. How do I go about with grooming myself? What do I wear? Where do I go? What is my mode of transport? For the past 5 days, probably I was depending more on metro and other modes that is there. Probably I didn't use my two-wheeler at all. Now, these are all things which are routine, which I'm using my natural mind. But if I allow a system to go about with taking all my decisions and I don't go about with getting involved, now that is what I go about with calling it as the artificial intelligence there. So you have a lot of people to talk about that with you. Now, BI goes about with using a set of processes, technologies, and tools to transform raw data into meaningful information. That's what I've been learning right from my school days. That is, process data is called information, and information helps you in decision making. And it could also have a very common thing. I love this acronym that I learned it probably in my school days, which is called GIGO, which stands for garbage in and garbage out. If the data is garbage and it is not based on truth, I mean, the information is going to be garbage. And if you base your decisions on that, I mean, you're bound to go about with going for a doom. Now, business intelligence focuses on mining the information. You'll have to dig deep into the soil to talk about the diamonds, gold, and other things that are there. So it's to provide you knowledge. The use of this knowledge is for beneficial insights. We have sight, but we're talking about insight. It leads to impactful decision making. It helps business provide benefits like increased productivity. That is a ratio between output to input. You talk about increased profitability. And the other thing that is there is reduced cost. This is the core as to why we go about with using business intelligence. I mean, there are a lot of other things that are there. It's a common knowledge that is there. It's been quite long that when I was doing my regular purchases at Reliance Fresh, a guy said, why don't you take a Reliance card? I said, what do you need to do? I filled up a form. I gave my name, phone number, mobile, let's say my email ID, my workplace, my occupation, and all the details in it. And every Saturday I get a message. I'm talking about the past there as to on Sunday, what's going to be the rate of veg, non-veg, skinless. I mean, I was finding it a little hard how to go about with deciphering this thing there. Why I'm being targeted? My wife is a staunch vegetarian. I'm a staunch non-veg. How does it happen? Then when I look into my pantry, I figure out that I purchased a Maggie with a red dot. Now they come to know that I'm a non-veg. I mean, I purchased meat or fish at Spar, and I go about with getting information. Just yesterday, I got something saying that you buy 999 rupees worth grocery or anything, I'll get chicken of a kg for 99. How is this happening? And it's a common sense that is there that they have created an ID on my name with barcode. Today you call it the quick response code and other things there. And whatever buying that I'm doing, it has all been accumulated. They're trying to use statistical tools and statistical packages to go about by drawing patterns. Probably they know me more than what I know about myself. And when you talk about a shorter version, you call it as a database. A bigger level, you call it as a data warehouse, and much bigger that's there. I mean, you say that data mart that is there is a subset of a data warehouse that is there. And data mining is what you apply the statistical tools to draw patterns of a customer. And this is where we are there. And that is how they are able to target me with specific SMSs around. So you have a lot of metrics. You have a lot of key performance areas and indicators that are there. There are scorecards. I wish the young ones hear more about what is balance scorecard given by Norton and Kaplan that is there. It talks about dashboards. See, when you're driving a car, it tells you whether the fuel is at economy, what pace that you're going at. I mean, a lot of those things come into you. And then a two-wheeler tells me that I'm driving it at an economy level or sub-economy level, the fuel consumption, all those things that are there. So you have a lot of those things to help you, guide you to take decisions. Probably I'm just trying to put forth what I was there associated. I did this somewhere else. Now, I used to go about by trying to figure out when I was the joint director in the PG admissions office, it tells that the number of students who had applied for the courses in MA, MCOM, and MSc. And what are the status of the verification that we have? I mean, how many have we approved? Like, there's a dashboard that we have, like 39,274 applications we have seen. And how many are there? How many with their study courses and other things, SSCs cleared, income status, how much is to be verified by a chief? At different levels, we do this. And then, this is something like it goes about telling on a daily basis, how many did I verify on a daily basis there? Like maybe this is a kind of a dashboard and my director can get a view as to how we go about doing it. And these are small applications which are being customized to the need. Maybe people at MSET or people at ISET or whatever things that are there. I mean, the service provider is the same, let me tell you. Now you are talking about the places where AI would be used, probably with smart cars. You have the Tesla guy talking about a different level. And how do you go about with detecting fraud? Or, I'm given a smart card for the metro rail, and there's so much of information which is enabled about my travels and other things based on that. And BI was coined by Gartner Group in the 90s. It was the management information systems that is providing the right information to the right person at the right time, which became the core in the later part there. So you started to create what is called the executive information systems. And I don't want to get into the history part of it. What is driving business analytics is to do with the pace at which technology is developing. And you're trying to reduce the gap between what technology can provide and what business can go about using. So, somebody went about booking my tickets to Vijayawada from the comfort of their mobile today, and tickets have been sent to me to my WhatsApp. The greatest game changer in the recent past has been internet. I mean, the era, if you look at, and if you look at Industry 4.0, even education has come a very long way from the Gurukulas, the Taksasilas, and the Nalandas. And then it ended up with the university system. We talk about distance mode. Then we talk about blended learning, and the future is all about MOOC and other things around there. So I don't want to get any more into this. Decision making, when you look at, there are different levels. Top management, which you call it as strategic, middle management, and lower management that is there. So how do you go about providing decisions? So here, if you look at executive level, where you decide the future in terms of the vision, mission of the organization, or what you do to the middle management, to the marketing, finance, HR, the functional areas, how do you provide decisions to the senior managers, middle managers, and if you have to take decisions on a daily basis, second to second kind of a thing, comes under the transaction processing systems. So you talk about strategic, tactical, operations, 3 levels that are there. Now, basic thing is you want to remove guesswork. You want to respond quickly. Let's say what Bill Gates has said. He said business at the rate of thought. You don't have any gap there. You talk about developing valuable insights into the customer behavior. You talk about customer or consumer analytics. You're trying to do the right things. In English, there are 2 words, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is about the right things. Effectiveness is about doing the right things in the right way. You want to identify and control costs. The businesses have become very, very competitive. A simple example, I mean, school level formula, where we said selling price minus the cost price gives you gain. In the past, as a monopolist, you could manipulate the selling price. But today, you're not a price maker, you're a price taker. So the only option that you have is how best you can control your cost or reduce your cost of production, still keep your profitability going. Where do you control your cost? It's on your material, it's on your men, it's on your machines, it's the rate at interest at which you borrow, it's on the efficient management that you employ. So those things matter a lot, and how IT goes about with helping you in all these things is a big thing to see. So for maintaining inventory, I mean, you talk about barcoding, right? It's such a simple thing, but let me tell you, there is real-time way that people are able to figure out the inventory in the mall. You don't want your customer to pick up a competitor's product or a service before it depletes, or the customer can get into a substitution kind of an effect. That is, your product gets replaced by a competitor. You must replenish the stock there. It's very important the way you're using IT in that area there. So there is what we call it as fact-based decision making today. You're not relying on hunches. You're not relying on history. So it is very much real-time kind of a thing. And you're trying to work out on a single version of truth. And you're trying to say that you're not going with very narrow. If you look at the balance scorecard, it said at a very basic level, you require training and development, internal processes, customer perspective. Then you have the financial perspective. So it is three. Yeah.
Sir, we are able to see only the first slide still.
My God, what has happened?
It is not moving, sir.
I don't know.
We could see only first slide.
Now can you see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know like what happened, but there could be some issue with my software here. But I'll share the entire thing in the group with I mean, with Renu ma'am, and she'll probably put it. I'm really sorry for
Yes,
that
sir.
kind of misadvantage. I mean, I was so confident I was talking about the dashboard, what we use in our PG admission office and other things there. I've come a little long way trying to talk about the levels of decision and to tell things like what are the BI components where you have a data warehouse, business analytics, the business performance management, and the kind of user interface. There's a lot of this graphic thing, which is making it today. Everything is menu based, app driven kind of a thing that you have around. And here you look at it, the business analytics is all about data mining. It's about regression, clustering. You talk about association and other things that are there. And this is where it is when you look at the analytics journey, where you say that the way you move along this x-axis and the way you move along the y-axis, the value keeps increasing, but the mode of difficulty goes about as increasing. So at a very basic level, if you're asking as to what has happened, somebody asked, who was that? Rudyard Kipling, where did you get all the knowledge in the world? He said, I got it from the 6 wise men, the 6 W's, who, what, why, where, and other things. And Japanese call it the 5 W's and the 2 H's. So descriptive doesn't talk about the why part. The diagnostic thing is, it is more about the why part. Predictive is, if this has happened, what's going to happen in future? I mean, if what you have to go about with suggesting, how you go about with making things happening, or if it's bad, how do you ensure that it doesn't go from bad to worse? You talk about the prescriptive analysis. So, if you take your decisions based on your past, you call it hindsight. You take the current information and start digging deep into it and start developing understanding. You call it the insight. And this thing, if it trying to figure out as to how do you work out in future, coming 10 years, 15 years down the line, how do you work it out? You call that as the foresight, right? So this is something which is core of business analytics. I spoke on business intelligence as well. I mean, I would leave this with you all, maybe to tell that what is the difference between business intelligence and business analytics, the theory part of it, what data mining is, where does machine learning come in, where does artificial intelligence, where does statistics and mathematics come in. You look at it, it's something where you talk about commerce management and IT, management science and information systems there. And the core of it is where you see data mining there. And some of the things that you look at, it should have some of these 5 V's in terms of handling volume, variety of data, the speed with which you do it, and cutting across boundaries and variability, and trying to, when whatever things that you go about putting, how does it respond to me as well? Now, these things are very much needed. So analytics go about with supporting the unmet needs, the market size, helps you to forecast the demand well. Some of multinational companies are bound in India and going back, right? I mean, you look at trend or the things which are not related with customer. Most often we focus on that, or you want to figure out how your competitors are doing, or there are a lot of other things that you would talk of, brand and other aspects there. So I think I'm done with my time. So I would just tell it like I was there to go about with trying to give a kind of intro to the BI and BA part of it in this international conference that you're holding it in a virtual mode. So these are some of the challenges that we have in future. That is, you'll have to justify the return on investment. A lot of money is involved. How do you go about cutting across the boundaries and adopt it across the business there? And how do you analyze the data from different sources? You get multiple platforms or touch points from where you get it there. So there are a lot of these challenges that you have. And to the young ones, I tell you that there are 4 C's that you need to concentrate on. That is for 21st century, you talk about communication, collaboration, then it's about creativity, and it's about critical thinking. So if you have to really go about surviving in future, you got to be a great communicator, written, oral, and other things. You got to get yourself adapted to working in teams. That is where your EQ counts. That is collaboration part of it. And then it is about the aspect of being creative. If you're into working out algorithms, doing programming, you got to be very creative. It's not about criticizing, but trying to do a kind of self-introspection every time. It's about the critical component. So to conclude, success in today's data-oriented business environment requires that you're able to think about how these fundamental concepts apply to your business and do it analytically. And understanding this fundamental concepts is important not only for data scientists themselves, but for anyone working with a data scientist. You require this. And understanding the processes and the stages helps you to go about structure, makes you more data analytic thinking driven, and makes it more systematic rather than being haphazard. And you are less prone to errors and omissions. Errors could be very expensive, irreversible. So when you start applying the knowledge in this BI and BA, it will go about it helping in a long way. I stuck to the time that was given to me or exceeded with the introduction and the prayer song and all. And I would go about with leaving to the organizers. Thank you so much for your participation. I think it started off with a short note. There are 88 participants. Great going thing that I would congratulate St.Ann's College for the kind of knowledge sharing platform that was being created. Thank you very much. I stop this. Once again, apologize for that thing wherein my slides didn't move, but I'll share the entire PPT and probably it'll go about with being a kind of a reckoner wherein you can go about it, taking it to another level. Thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being a part of our 3-day international conference and sharing valuable and useful information regarding business intelligence and business analytics with us, sir. Actually, I have completed, filed recently a patent, sir, on business intelligence only. But still, I got so many inputs, different inputs from you, sir. I definitely will go for another patent using the same concept. With respect to analytics, I want to go for it, sir, by seeing your presentations and all. So I want to file another patent. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now we will begin paper presentations. Lavanya?
Yes, ma'am. Can we just take a minute once to decide? Can the participants please message their paper IDs in the group, in the WhatsApp group, so that we can decide accordingly if we'll go ahead with one room or use breakout rooms? We'll just take a couple of minutes to start up the presentations.
Aparna?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you inform them to just switch on the video so that you can take on snap?
We can take a, okay. Can we request everyone to please switch on their videos so we can take a quick photograph?
Before they disperse.
Thank you, sir.
Participants also can switch on your videos if possible.
All paper presenters can post either here in the chat box or in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, done, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
It is, Nandini ma'am, it is almost like 10 to 6. Shall we have 2 rooms, ma'am? So that will definitely be finished by 6:30. Yes, ma'am.
I think that's convenient.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
So we'll be creating 2 breakout rooms and there'll be equal number of participants in both the rooms. And accordingly, we'll go ahead with the presentation schedule.
Aparna, shall I go to room number 2?
Yes, Kavita.
Room 1, Lavanya will go.
Actually, in your rooms also, if anybody needs to, shift rooms because maybe one participant is in room 2 and one in 1, you can message us and we'll change. We'll manually move them if there is any issue with the presentations.
You already shifted them, no?
Request the participants, you'll see a small message pop up on your Zoom screen that will, direct you towards the room that you have to join. We still see a few students who haven't joined. Tina, Sneha, Srija, Sneha Reddy, G Nandini, you've all been assigned to room 1. In room 2, Gayatri, Shrestha, Pravalika, Himaja. Kavita, shall we put you in room 2?
Yes. So I'm moving to room 2.
You should see an option on your screen. Actually, you have been put in room 2.
Room 2.
Yeah. And where is Lavanya?
The down menu bar is there, ma'am. Breakout rooms.
In the 3 dots more.
Yeah, in the down menu bar is there, no? There it is coming. Breakout rooms.
Is Lavanya there?
Aparna ma'am, can you pass that live streaming?
Yes.